All right. Bam! Who remembers that? Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo. No? Anybody? Does anybody? What about the hotline? Who remembers the Nintendo hotline? Fortunately, I never had to call. They just stopped supporting it after like decades. But anyways, that's beside the point. Welcome everybody. This is potentially episode 1. Um yeah, this is should be interesting. This is all trial by fire. No script, no nothing. However, lots of testing though. I've done I think 22 audio test streams prior to this. But anyway, so this is potentially episode 1 because just like every show, there's usually a pilot episode, and you can really only have an episode 1 if there's an episode 2. So we'll see how this goes. This first episode, I'm just going to be going through some of the consoles I have. It's just sort of a starter, just to prove my geekiness, and we'll get into that, or my commitment to gaming culture. But anywho, so with that said, starting a Twitch stream, I have done vast amounts of research in the weeks leading up to this, months even, and all the things I've noticed are, aside from just getting out there and going to start your stream, consistency, I've heard, is crucial, which makes sense. Quality, obviously, that's good. But another one, despite whether you're doing this for business or pleasure, you may have no reason for doing a Twitch stream or may not be aware of what your exact reason or purpose is. But I've come to realize is that your viewers are there for a reason, even if they're just stopping by for all of a second. So what's important to add to your stream, at least for yourself, is credibility. Kind of like, I don't know if anyone's taken a debate class, they go through, what is it, the three main things. Is it ethos, logos, and pathos? You've got basically ethos, credibility, pathos, which is like passion, enthusiasm, commitment to what you're doing, what you believe in or discussing, and then logos, logic. And despite how crazy or quirky a person might seem, sort of like in English class or any given language around communication, the ability to convey certain points that support your idea and what you're trying to deliver, whether that's a good or service or message. And so that's what I'm here to do, is kind of quickly build credibility. I have been part of the gaming culture and environment for over a quarter century now, and I've got, we'll call it a small empire of gaming goodness. Don't mind me. It's rather heavy, but there's a lot going on in there. We'll go through that. So I've got 3 of these. Can we see that? Yeah, the black drawers. Normally it's all white. I had to move stuff, but I've got more gaming paraphernalia than I know what to do with. It's hard to see, but you know what? We can get through that. Going through that later, filled with games. So we're just gonna kind of reach through and ship away. My personal favorite is the Super Nintendo. Super Mario World was the first game that I conquered. It should be everyone's first game that they conquer. But the Super Nintendo. Countless hours of fun. Early 90s. It was outstanding. There we go. Who remembers that? That's the hotline number. They just stopped supporting that number like only a couple years ago, which is crazy. I think just because they ran out of parts for it, and it's just really, there's no need to have it with things like the Virtual Console now on all their systems. Super Nintendo was great. We've got how many games? Like 20 plus games? Like this is oh god. Like this is the kind of nonsense that I'm talking about. Ah, there we go. Blocked by the camera. We've got Mortal Kombat, A Link to the Past, Mario Paint, Top Gear. Top Gear 3000 was absolutely phenomenal. So, all kinds of fun. And handhelds as well. Handheld consoles. All the Game Boy games like Gold and Fire Red, Yellow. Not all the Game Boy games, me personally, but all of my Game Boy games. So, we're just going to be going through all this stuff for the coming weeks. I was really hopeful. Apple just announced their new phone with their keynote they just did earlier this month. I was really hopeful that they were going to discuss other things like new computers. Didn't happen. Hopefully, they're going to have another keynote in a few more weeks. But if that doesn't happen, then I'm probably going to need to get just a different computer because my Mac Mini, I've got my Elgato HD 60S capture card. Doesn't work with Mac. I mean, they've got a beta, but with my current computer, it's a older Mac Mini, like 5 to 6 years old. It's got a Core i5 and it's struggling to keep up. So right now, I mean, it's perfect if I'm streaming just the webcam and audio and not a whole lot more. So that's what I'm gonna do is just we're gonna go through some of the consoles and a lot of the games just to pass the time. And then once I get a better system, I'm actually gonna start going through and playing games. And that was another thing. All the, oh my God, countless hours of research on what to do and how to be successful. It's always just like, go for it and don't invest tons of money and make the best of what you have. And it's very true. Fortunately, if you are going to invest money up front, audio is king. And that's what I heard. So I sprung for the mic. I haven't gone for the PC or newer Mac to run Boot Camp, and I know I could do Boot Camp now, but I'm still faced with the fact that it's too old. Even if I do run Boot Camp, it can't support the HD60S because it's a dual core. But we're getting off topic. Back to gamings, but that highlights it. Is make the best of what you have. So this first episode is just kind of reflection on the couple months leading up to this. You could, out of the gates, day one, just go for it. But leading up to this, I've also set up an Instagram account, Twitter, Tumblr, WordPress, Facebook, Google Plus, if anyone's using that. But that's exactly the point, is just covering all bases. You don't know where people are going to find a link or see a reference or something like that, and you just want to have it there. And the more things you have, maybe someone does get hooked and they want to go digging, and they're going to want to have as many places to dig as possible. So all it's going to do is benefit you. It's a little more effort, but that's what I was doing leading up to this. And again, I guess this isn't technically my first stream, because I've done the 22 audio streams testing the audio. And when I say testing the audio, I mean testing on the phone speaker, which is just I think it's the frequency that these speakers play audio at, like the range that they focus on, because the background noise is almost deafening on phone speakers prior to doing all the stuff with Adobe Audition to remove it. But as soon as you go to headphones, that kind of softens it. But on like my speaker system, like through the receiver, I'm sure it's whatever digital audio converters and whatnot that, or whatever processing is happening, that ends up stripping it somehow, or it's just it focuses on different frequency ranges when it plays back. It's also a lot quieter, and even on my desktop speakers, I've got another set of those Klipsch Pro Media smaller satellite speakers hooked up to my Mac Mini. I also tested on my girlfriend's laptop speakers. Like everything else aside from the phone would play back audio a lot quieter, and the background noise was nowhere near as loud. However, I think the majority of people will be viewing on their phones. So that's why I did all that testing. It helps to go the extra mile if you have the time. Fortunately, I did. So, back to this. Super Nintendo. Gotta love Super Nintendo. Followed by N64. Yeah. Who has their N64 still? I'd like to know all of, well, the ones that count still work. We'll get to that. N64 still works. Genesis. This is actually acquired through a friend. Never got around to hooking it up myself, but I've got the games, got the controllers. Sega Genesis. Alright, so, great story about Sega Genesis. Well, a Sega Genesis story. There's, what is it? The birthday place? Fuzzy stuff. Chuck E. Cheese? Yeah, you're familiar with those types of, awful birthday things. Alright, well, there was a great one that wasn't Chuck E. Cheese when I was younger. The place was called Planet Kids, and it was indoor jungle gym-esque, pizza for birthdays and other things. But at this place, Planet Kids, I think they did have an arcade, but they also had a separate, like, gaming room. And it was multiple Sega Genesises. Genesis? Multiple Sega Genesis consoles. There we go. Actually, I read an iPhone article issue regarding the plural of Apple devices, and apparently that's what you're supposed to do. It's just singular, but you do the long. Irrelevant. Back to Planet Kids and the Sega Genesis room of glory. They had a whole room of Sega Genesis stuff, and they had games like Aladdin and Lion King, which, by the way, oh my god, has there ever been a more difficult game to play than The Lion King from the early 90s? Sweet Jesus, for all you youngsters out there, I mean, I know Legendary might be incredibly frustrating or realistic on some of the Tom Clancy games, but holy god, I challenge you even to play on normal you know what, and that's another thing, there was a time where games didn't have difficulty settings. That's right. Believe it or not, folks. Anyways, that game was frustrating as hell, especially to, a 9-year-old Steven and or other human children attending said birthday parties in the late 90s. But, yeah, good times. Sega Genesis. At least they still make decent games. And played a Sonic game in forever. I keep buying them through the Xbox Live Virtual Console stuff, or through their e-store, whatever you want to call it. Xbox Live Marketplace, to be correct. All the trolls out there, whatever. But yeah, so I keep buying those. Haven't got around to playing them. Real life catches up to you, by the way. That was another frustrating thing. I contemplated on that issue a lot as I slowly started to get older. GameCube, this thing. So many countless hours played on this. And, yeah, the Game Boy Advance, you see that? The Game Boy Advanced add-on. Which, I had the Super Game Boy Still have it in that drawer. Oh yeah, we're gonna go through all the good stuff. Um, but yeah, the Game Boy. You can even connect another Game Boy. You can do trades through this. Connect? It wasn't wireless? Yeah, newsflash. It wasn't wireless. So anyways, GameCube. Kind of rambling here, but that's okay. That was another trick they recommended is whether you've got one person or zero, and I just accepted the fact there was going to be nobody. So, yeah, that's joke's on you if you're watching this. Ha! You got tricked. Click on this, right? Hashtag click life. So from there, oh my god. Ah, here's the Xbox. This thing is a beast. I forgot how heavy this is. I haven't held this in so long. That's why the drawer is heavy. Okay, well thank you, Microsoft. Did anyone mod their Xbox? I think we had two modded Xboxes with like every single. It had all the Super Nintendo games and all the N64 games and Genesis and like all this great stuff. Atari 1600 and whatnot. So yeah. Oh my god. We would take our consoles when we'd go on vacations and when we'd go through the airport. We'd usually get stopped because we had just bagfuls of electronics and cords and it looked so bad. Uh, anyways, so Xbox was sort of the turn because that's a new competitor. For the longest time, it was honestly they were kind of the replacement. For the longest time, it was Nintendo, Sega, and then PlayStation stepped in, and then Nintendo and PlayStation almost fused together to, combine forces, but Sony decided not and went their own route. Nintendo went their own route. And Sega, post Dreamcast, was just software at that point. And then the new kid on the block, which is now not really the new kid. It's mainly Xbox and PlayStation. Although I'm still a diehard Nintendo fan at heart. So yeah, that's that. I was contemplating. Time for video games fades away. There was this issue in the young teens where I realized how much I was playing games when I was even younger. 9, 10, and 11. But then when I got around to the age of 14, 15, 16, and then you realize you're going to have to get a job one day if you haven't already. Although I would end up having to do ample chores around the house. So, but anywho, I would always wonder why, because I'd see some adult gamers, but they wouldn't game daily and for hours on end or like any amount of time. I'm talking like 5 minutes. Like my mom, we would be going out getting groceries. She'd be running errands and I'd be with her and we'd have to swing by the house. And she'd be like, okay, we need to empty the groceries. And, if you need to go to the bathroom, do that or whatever. And, she might need to make a call. In reality, it was probably like, we'll be home for 6 minutes. But I don't hear we'll be home for like 6 minutes. I hear, oh, I can do 3 laps in Need for Speed. That's what I hear. Or, I can play 4.5 levels of Super Mario in 6 minutes. Immediately, regardless amount of the time we'd be home, however small, I could always cram in time to play. She'd pick me up, she'd get off work, pick me up from wherever, maybe we'd head out to dinner with the rest of our family, and there'd be like a 20-minute window where she changes out of her work clothes, gets ready, and I'm supposed to be doing better things with my time. But 20 minutes and just dive into The Legend of Zelda, like hard, not to do anything. You can't make progress in a Legend of Zelda game unless you have a minimum of 30 minutes. And if you're going to take on a dungeon, make sure you only play or start the dungeon if you have 2 hours. I mean, at least an hour. But I'm again crazy. I know this is episode 1, but it's going to become freakishly apparent at how peculiar I truly am. But anyway, so that time to play, and I realized I didn't want to lose that ability or time or sense to just play whenever. But now, being over a quarter centuries or a quarter century old, just recently turned 26. So now I just, with work and getting sleepy and needing to eat, it's just the drive. It's not, the passion is still there. But time flies by. 20 minutes at, you know, mid 20s? 20 minutes feels like 20 seconds, maybe 5 seconds. Not that short, but like 5 minutes or less. And it's just, there's no time. Why bother? And honestly, I think that's why, especially with younger kids, why mobile gaming and apps that are so easy to access are so popular. But however, I would like to note, you could fire up the Super Nintendo. There were no spinning parts, no hard drives, didn't have to read some giant double-sided Blu-ray disc thing, and it takes 2 minutes to load whatever racetrack you're trying to race at, or whatever game you're trying to play, to queue up and wait for people or lobbies. No, you could turn on any of these consoles, cartridge-based consoles, and just hit the ground running. And it was immediate. And it was great. But now, it takes forever. Well, hell, this might have been faster. Xbox One and PlayStation, for at least for the 360, I've barely touched, and this is the exact issue I'm complaining about. I've got my Wii U and Xbox One, and I've just, like, barely touched them. I've had them for over a year, almost 2, maybe 2 years, probably like a year and a half. But yeah, there's just no time. It seems like there's no time unless you force yourself and set up a scheduled game. But I'm the type of person that does that. I set up a spreadsheet for Pokemon. Yeah, that's for a separate stream. But yeah, I'm quirky and committed, and even I find it difficult to game. But Clash of Clans, which is just, I need to find something else to play. I don't even attack. All I do is just change my base layout. That's it. It's just something to do. It's like a stress ball for your mind to, one of those hand exercise things. But in your face, deep in your noggin. Anywho, continuing on. The glory of Xbox. Well, to finish off the Nintendo stuff in the box, there was the Wii. Didn't have the largest library of headlining games, but that's okay. Like major titles. Although I'm not sure it released with that many games either. Kind of irrelevant. Still great. I loved it. I played the Twilight Prince, the Wii version of Twilight Princess. Legend of Zelda on the Wii. I know it came out for the GameCube. It was designed for the GameCube, but we'll see, because they're faced with the same issue for the Wii U and the new console for, what is it? Breath of the Wild? Yeah, which looks awesome. Looks like Skyrim. Yeah, well, you know what? Zelda's over, was it 25, 30 years old? So take that. However, Skyrim was phenomenal. Definitely looking forward to the remastered version of that. Because I didn't play to any of the Elder... Well, I sort of touched Oblivion when I visited a friend's house once, but I never went out and purchased an Elder Scrolls game until Skyrim. And I also didn't play it until like 2 or 3 years after it came out. I was incredible. Maybe it was a year, but uh, wow, drawing a blank. Skyward Sword. Skyward Sword. That's what came out for Wii, like right around the same time as Skyrim, and Skyrim lost out to that. It's that Nintendo fan thing that I was talking about. Can't let it go. Yeah. Yes. The PlayStation 2. Not mine. Not really sure. I mean, it is mine, but I acquired it through a trade of sorts. I don't have any games or power cord or controllers, but it's basically a glorified paperweight. But then again, it's PlayStation, so right? That goes without saying. Okay. And then the 360. Even more hours and time thrown into this guy. So there's a lot of gaming stuff. I would like to know. I think I had every version. Let's go into the some of the quirkiness. Yeah, so every version of the 360, the original white one, then the Elite, then the was it Slim? This is the Slim. I think I had two versions of the Elite. I think I've got another one out in the hall. They just acquire stuff. So a lot of the older things I inherited through my brother, and then I've just grown the empire from there. Ever since I was a very young gamer, indeed. What else? Got some other knickknacks, some essentials. When you have that many consoles, you will need video switches. There we go. Video switch, right? This is the one I used for a while. This was the better one. I had some ridiculous three screen. You can see the two screens. Oh god, did we mention that? Well, if you haven't seen my setup videos of me struggling trying to get my Twitch equipment up and running or planning that out, I mentioned my girlfriend's laptop earlier. I'm in my girlfriend's room, and I want to do things, and she wants to do things. Ergo, we've got two separate TVs. It's not so much a his and hers, kind of. I prefer gaming on the center channel. Like, we'll watch movies there. But if she's home before me or whatever, and she's watching TV, then I can just set up on the second one. Or if I'm gaming and she wants to watch TV, she can just set up on the second one. It's kind of, excessive, but that really highlights just the unnecessary planning and development that I will go through. So yeah. What were we? What now? Look at your eyes. No, no, no. The person next to you. Yeah, yeah. Uh, nice, nice. They said never stop talking, which is why I figured it would be good to not write a script. Just see, whatever crap falls out. This was outstanding, by the way. Another thing, I've got it hooked up. I had to. I wasn't sure if I'd ever need it. This is my second one. HDMI switch. I've got it hooked up over there. So, multiple screens. That's how we got on that tangent of multiple screens. I used to have 3 screens in my other room. That's right, 3 screens. Because there was a second small screen on the other side. I didn't have these towers. I'll see if I can find a photo of my last setup, which I call Command Center, because all of the devices, it allows me to do everything. Gaming, TV, movies, music, all that good stuff. that the internet and electricity provide for us. Where were we? So gaming. It could be two separate consoles. I could be doing 360 on one side, and someone could be doing Super Nintendo or N64 on the other, and then we could be watching TV shows, Netflix, or movies in the center. Shared experience, but we each have our own thing, or playing the same game, but each on our own screen. Totally not necessary. But again, I hail from a time where you would play with people in the same room and not wanting to have to share the screen, split screen, you'd get multiple consoles. And if you had multiple consoles and wanted to play at the same time, you would need multiple screens. It was just, it seems excessive, but it was actually very straightforward, the reasoning behind it. So yeah, that's kind of the logical stuff if you can just like sort of work your way there. And that is crazy. But it shows the passion, and there's a hilarious amount of time. Again, playing games for over a quarter century. The credibility is there despite whatever setup, new or old, I've I've dealt with it. And yeah, so these are just the consoles. I still have my Wii U hooked up on the floor and my Xbox One, and I have got a whole array, a fleet of handhelds. Again, multiple handheld. I've got, I think, two of the original DS's. Well, I've got my original Game Boy Color. Um, all this stuff still works, by the way. The only one that really doesn't work, that's because the LCD screen failed, like it's just riddled with dead pixels, is the Sega Genesis. Yeah, way before backlight gaming. They were ahead of the curve, man. Same thing happened with Dreamcast, though, and it was just, they were ahead of their time. Um, kind of fell victim to their own glory, I suppose. Uh, but yeah, good stuff. So anyways, handhelds. Original Game Boy Color, God, what is it? The SP, Game Boy Advance, the Game Boy Micro. Did anyone even know the Game Boy Micro existed? No. I wanted to get two of them, switch out the back plates, because they had a silver one with a silver face and a black back plate. And then they had a black front plate for the black one and a silver back plate, and I wanted to get both and pop off the silver ones and combine the black, the two black plates, and return the silver one unbeknownst to them. I just never got around to doing that. I did get a micro though after all said and done. It's a European one. It's got this big bulky charger, not like our sleeker US plugs, but anywho. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff. That drawer is totally locked away though. It's ridiculous. I've got multiple drawers filled with nonsense for the last 2 decades of gaming, and we'll just kind of chip through it one at a time. And I think this is good. Establishing credibility. Why should your viewers be there in the first place? Do they know what he's talking about? Or she? Does she know what she's talking about? Are they able to explain? Obviously, when I don't have so much nonsense, we'll really be able to focus. As I go through games, we're going to touch back on Super Mario World, some of the glories of that game, and other stuff, and just go through basically everything again to kill time. Make do with what you have until you can get your stream up and running. And I'm just following the wise words of all the people that I researched, whether it was through just the Twitch community or looking for how-to videos on YouTube. I mean, I've been doing this, researching Twitch life for like about 4 months, but I went on these 2 week-long vacations, and there were a couple holidays. It was summer, so, and other family events and days off. So really, out of the 4 months, it was like three months solid, because there was about a month's worth of time where I couldn't be researching. Um, but if you're, we'll just throw some numbers up for fun. If you work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, that would be 40 hours in a week, right? So that's a full-time job. So since I would be starting around 9 in the morning and researching until about 2, yeah, I'd stop for food, but I could also just keep eating while I would research. We'll call it 10 to 12. We'll shave 3 hours off. We'll cut some time off. Could be more. Just remember those 3 hours. Plus 3, give or take. But 10 to 12, that's 14 hours. So plus, you know what? I'm not eating. I'm not a big eater. I do a lot of research. We'll just shave 2 hours off. 10 to 1. That is 12 plus 3, 15. 15 hours in one day. So by the second day, let's say I start research from 9 to 2 with an hour or two for food, and I do 15 hours of solid research that day. Come Tuesday, I do the same thing again. That's 30 hours right there. So that's 60 hours by Thursday and 75. I'm 5 hours short from working almost double time doing this. So that's just a 1 week span, and I've been doing that for 3 months. It's a lot of freaking research. So, again, I'd mentioned earlier, I make spreadsheets just to play Pokemon. Totally not necessary. Overkill on everything. 22 audio tests prior to just this first crappy potential stream. What if I redo this episode? Huh? Right? So, probably not going to. But overkill. Credibility. Research. That's all we're trying to drive home. It's just the general idea that he's crazy. He being me. This is just from the viewer's perspective. But at least he took the time to try and figure it out. And now I'll try to say, I'm probably gonna delete most of the audio clips because they're just, the sound quality is atrocious. I might save a few highlights, but it'll be good. It'll be good from here, I think. Fingers crossed. And that's about it. I think I'm gonna call it quits, guys, for the stream. And hopefully we will have the second one in the very near future. Probably review this, polish up some of the sites. Still need to chip away on WordPress. I still need to do a couple more things for my Twitch channel, like setting up Twitch alerts. I'm going to go through, do more of the background stuff for scenes and OBS and stuff like that, but I knew for this first episode and for the audio tests, I didn't need any of the background stuff, so. But yeah, just keep at it, guys. I believe in you. So, good times. Go to TwitchCon. I'm going to try. Go to TwitchCon.